Nobody republished it. It disappeared until the Book of Enoch was rediscovered in the Ethiopian region of Abyssinia in the 1700s.
Long forgotten until its discovery in the 1700s, the ancient Book of Enoch caused a sensation upon its reintroduction to the early Christian church. Everyone who studied it trembled in terror, including the priests in power. The secret knowledge within the book led people on quests for deeper understanding, expeditions that often drove them mad. Those who managed to keep their sanity were never the same. But what exactly is in this book? How does Joe Rogan explain its significance, and what about it drove people to madness? Get ready to unravel the 2,000-year-old text that revealed terrifying knowledge about mankind. Before we dive into the details, it's important to grasp some background on the Book of Enoch. Introduction to the Book of Enoch. The ancient Book of Enoch was rediscovered in Abyssinia, modern-day Ethiopia, in 1773. Also known as the Ethiopic Book of Enoch, it is classified as a pseudepigraphal work. The term pseudepigrapha refers to writings that are falsely attributed to a famous figure, often to lend them authority and legitimacy. In this case, the book claims to have been written by Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, though it was likely composed much later. According to Joe Rogan, the Book of Enoch contains fundamental truths often suppressed by political agendas and the human struggle for power. Rogan, a well-known media personality, has expressed deep interest in the Book of Enoch, discussing it with numerous scientists and scholars on his podcast. The Book of Enoch belongs to a broader collection of pseudepigraphal texts, which include works such as The Life of Adam and Eve, the Treatise of Shem, and the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. These texts provide evidence that during the Second Temple period in Palestine, there was no single form of Judaism. Instead, various interpretations coexisted, from which apocalyptic Christianity eventually emerged. The Book of Enoch predates the birth of Jesus and offers insights into early religious thought. Though its original manuscript vanished by the end of the 4th century, the text has been rediscovered in several languages, including Greek, Latin, Syriac, and, most notably, Aramaic, thanks in part to the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Who found the Book of Enoch, and how was it found? Let us delve deeper into the legend surrounding the Book of Enoch. Although the authorship of the Book of Enoch is traditionally attributed to Enoch, son of Jared, it is important to know that the book was composed several years after Enoch's death, raising questions about its historical authenticity. James Bruce, the Scottish explorer and scholar, is credited with bringing the Book of Enoch to wider attention. James went on a quest for a book that he hoped would preserve the secret of ancient rites, but ultimately returned with an ancient Ethiopian manuscript depicting the origin of evil, Satan. Rejected by the early church fathers and preserved only in fragments within the ancient Ethiopian language, Ge'ez, the Book of Enoch, tells a story that no institution of the time was willing to accept. Rooted in esoteric Jewish thought, it presents Satan not just as a fearful figure, but as one who could once serve as an ally and guide for humanity. At a time when Britain was embroiled in territorial conflicts with Spain, Bruce traveled extensively, studying the native cultures and artifacts of the peoples he encountered. While serving as British consul in Algiers, he developed a keen interest in ancient ruins and archaeological remains. It was perhaps during this time that Bruce first understood the significance of the lost Book of Enoch. After his stint in Algiers, Bruce set out in search of the Blue Nile, believed to be the true Nile of antiquity. Yet his ambitions were not solely scientific. Bruce also had a mystical agenda, rooted in the Western Christian tradition and the mythology surrounding its central antagonist, Satan. Traveling via Alexandria, Thebes, and Cairo, Bruce finally arrived in Gondar, the former capital of Ethiopia, in 1770. From there, he ventured into Abyssinia in search of not only the source of the Blue Nile, but also the elusive Book of Enoch. As a member of the Cannon Gate Kill-Winning Lodge of Freemasons, Bruce may have been influenced by Masonic traditions, which regard Enoch as equivalent to the Egyptian god Thoth, revered as the originator of the written language. Some suggest that Bruce's search for the Book of Enoch was motivated by the belief that Enoch somehow possessed the key to the mysteries to which the Freemasons believed themselves to be the inheritors. Uncovering Enoch's words would validate their beliefs. However, Bruce found something even darker. We have long been accustomed to seeing Satan as the source of all evil, a convenient explanation for theological debates about why God allows suffering. However, the Book of Enoch presents a different view. In its original narrative, God faced no adversary other than himself. It is no surprise, therefore, that the Book of Enoch, which portrays wisdom as arising from the very people the Hebrew God sought to destroy in the flood, was never accepted into Christian scripture. The book remained unpublished during Bruce's lifetime, as its contents would have challenged the authority of the Church by suggesting that human creativity and wisdom had their roots not in Christ, but in Azazel and the fallen angels. Such ideas were anathema to the religious and social climate of the time. Publicizing the book would have caused unrest that few were prepared to face. Thus, despite the richness of its imagery, the story of the Book of Enoch has remained a footnote in history, detailing the life and times of this most inspirational of Scottish adventurers. The Dead Sea Scrolls. The Book of Enoch was also rediscovered at the Judean cave in 1946 to 1947 by some Bedouin boys caring for their sheep. Close to the cave, one of the young boys threw a rock into a cliff opening and was surprised to hear a shattering sound. Out of curiosity, he and his friends entered the cave and found several big clay jars, 7 of which had leather and papyrus scrolls. The Judean cave is near the ancient settlement of Qumran, located on the northwest coast of the Dead Sea, which is currently known as the West Bank. The scrolls were repurchased by antiquity merchants and scholars who found the texts to be over 2,000 years old. Many other scroll fragments were also found. The content of the books. Several scholarly clerics have dismissed the book, asserting that it contains revelations not divinely inspired by God. The ancient texts of Enoch were excluded from the biblical canon due to their exposure of profound truths regarding the creation of the world. These texts document a catalog of sensual fallen angels, violent giants, unusual cosmological phenomena, and other mystical revelations that remain unverified by biblical scholars. It is posited that the narratives concerning Enoch reflect various elements of Babylonian mythology. Although this book is attributed to Enoch, it has been recognized as a compilation of predominantly apocryphal works. Joe Rogan presents a counter-argument, suggesting that, despite the presence of Babylonian myths, these narratives may provide insights into numerous scientific enigmas. If the book has been lauded by Christian scholars, one might question why it is still labeled as a fallacy. Enoch, the author often associated with the text, frequently assumes the role of the prophesied Messiah, predating the arrival of Jesus. Others perceive him as a figure who ascended to heaven to gain knowledge of the secrets pertaining to the end of time. Some view him as a product of what could be considered ancient fan fiction. The narrative of Enoch is situated between the accounts of the Garden of Eden and the Great Flood, both of which are found in the book of Genesis. He is referenced in the traditional Bible as the 7th of the 10 pre-flood patriarchs in Adam's lineage. Despite occurring at such an early point in the timeline, the book commences with Enoch's foreboding description of the end times. This includes depictions of Earth being torn asunder and a final judgment of sinful humanity, alongside the introduction of enigmatic beings known as the Watchers. Initially, this group of 200 angels was assigned the task of observing history. However, they succumbed to desires for human women and descended to Earth to take them as wives. This marks the acceleration of the narrative, which bears a resemblance to a prologue from a high fantasy work, such as The Lord of the Rings. The offspring of the Watchers and their wives were giants who consumed everything in their vicinity, and when resources dwindled, they resorted to cannibalism. In our youth, the origins of Goliath and other biblical giants often puzzled us, and a distorted amalgamation of angels and humans serves as a plausible explanation. As these giants ravaged the land, the Watchers imparted charms, spells, and knowledge of herbology to their wives, perpetuating the negative portrayals of women as deceivers, a theme initiated by the stories of Eve and Lilith. Concurrently, the Watchers endowed mortal men with knowledge of metallurgy, enabling them to forge weapons and armor. This eventually led to internecine warfare among men. Recognizing the chaos they had instigated, the Watchers sought to shift the blame onto one of their own, Azazel, who is often depicted with goat-like attributes, thus coining the term scapegoat. It is noteworthy that the passage of time within this narrative can be rather perplexing. In response to the conflict among men, the destructive giants, and the cunning women, God resolved to cleanse the earth. As the saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, kill everyone. Although this may not be an accurate paraphrase, God provides Noah with a divine warning regarding the impending flood, prompting him to construct an ark. The plot then accelerates as Enoch suddenly ascends to heaven with little forewarning. God immediately commissions him with the task of administering judgment upon the Watchers, who are condemned to exist as demons for eternity. Furthermore, God appears to establish a form of purgatory to harbor the souls of humanity until the day of judgment. In the subsequent passages, God takes Enoch on a remarkable journey, revealing visions of the end of time. Those familiar with the books of Daniel and Revelation will recognize much of the imagery presented here, which is strikingly early in the narrative compared to the traditional placement at the conclusion of the Bible. God and Enoch begin to call individuals by name, declaring the absence of mercy for them. God empowers Enoch, transforming him into the leader of the archangels, known as Metatron. The Book of Enoch comprises a significant collection of narratives, with one section focusing on angels, a unique tree, Jerusalem, and cosmological themes. Among the most captivating aspects is the account of fallen angels who engaged in intimate relations with human women, resulting in the birth of giants known as the Nephilim. These angels also imparted advanced knowledge to humanity, which ultimately led to catastrophic events, including a great flood. The term Nephilim, meaning fallen ones, is often interpreted as referring to large beings akin to giants. This concept originates from the first book of Enoch, an important text within Jewish tradition, though it remains a subject of scholarly debate. Some interpretations suggest that the Nephilim's size is attributable to their supernatural nature, while others contend that it is inappropriate to assert that angels or demons could procreate with humans. An alternative perspective posits that the Nephilim were merely ordinary individuals who deviated from a righteous path. Some scholars propose that the sons of God mentioned in the text were descendants of Seth, a virtuous figure from the lineage of Adam, and that the Nephilim represented his descendants who turned away from divine principles. The Book of Enoch is further subdivided into 5 distinct sections: the Book of Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Vision, and the Epistles of Enoch. The entire work consists of 100 chapters. The Book of Watchers details the existence of unusual beings and hybrid entities. A prominent group within the Book of Enoch is the Watchers, described as angelic beings who are both the sons of God and the sons of heaven. In chapter 7, many scholars believe that the Watchers, referred to as the Grigori in Enoch 2, were angels designated to observe the human race and serve as earthly guides for the earliest humans. Their role involved monitoring human development, albeit with restrictions against direct interference in human affairs, regardless of any inclinations they may have had to intervene. In chapter 7, Enoch recounts that humanity had multiplied, with the daughters of men being described as beautiful and graceful. Their remarkable beauty captured the attention of the Watchers, these sons of God. The Watchers engaged in discourse and ultimately resolved to take these women as wives, thereby violating their intended purpose of mere observation and directly intervening in human life. The leader of these angels, known as Samyaza, cautioned the watchers to reconsider their decision, warning that he would bear the consequences of such transgressions against God. Nevertheless, the other angels persuaded him, asserting that they would collectively face any repercussions and accept responsibility for their actions. It is noted that there were a total of 200 angels who descended to earth to take the women as their spouses. The Book of Enoch identifies the leaders of the Watchers, each of whom imparted knowledge of sorcery, incantations, and the manipulation of natural elements to mortal women. This implies that the Watchers disclosed celestial and earthly knowledge that was not intended for humanity by divine decree. Consequently, they not only betrayed God through their unions with His creations, but also corrupted them with forbidden knowledge. The offspring of these unions were the Nephilim, often described as hybrids of angels and humans. There exists some debate regarding the nature of the Nephilim. However, Genesis 6:1-4 indicates that they were present on earth during that time and afterward, as the sons of God, interpreted as the Watchers, intermingled with the daughters of men. The Nephilim are characterized as heroes of old and men of renown. Some contemporary commentators, including Joe Rogan, have suggested that the descent of the Watchers to earth may be analogous to modern conceptions of extraterrestrial beings. In Enoch, the progeny of these unions are referred to as giants, who subsequently began to consume the resources created by humanity. These giants, identified as Nephilim, engaged in violence against humans and ultimately turned upon one another. In Chapter 8, we encounter Azazel, presumed to be one of the Watchers, who instructs humanity in the use of weapons and warfare. While the Watchers imparted knowledge regarding the secrets of heaven, incantations, and sorcery, Azazel also taught mankind the manipulation of materials such as paints, stones, and dyes, thereby enabling humans to alter their environment. Chapter 82 reveals that Azazel's teachings led to an increase in impiety, a rise in fornication, and various forms of corruption among humanity. The subsequent sections of the chapter describe how the other Watchers educated mankind in astrology, science, and astronomy, which ultimately resulted in widespread destruction and cries of despair that ascended to heaven. In Chapter 9, the archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, observe the turmoil on earth and present their concerns to God. They attribute significant culpability to Azazel for teaching humanity various forms of iniquity and revealing celestial secrets. They also hold Samyaza accountable for imparting sorcery to mortals and for his role in the creation of the ungodly giants through his unions with women. The archangels beseech God for guidance on how to restore order to the earth. In Chapter 10, God instructs Uriel to seek out Noah, the son of Lamech. Uriel is tasked with informing Noah of the impending flood that will lead to the destruction of all life on earth, while also providing him with the means of escape, as his lineage is destined to endure. Furthermore, God commands Archangel Raphael to bind Azazel and cast him into the abyss of darkness, specifically into the desert region of Dudael, which is situated in the underworld. The Book of Parables is distinguished by the absence of any fragments within the corpus of the Dead Sea Scrolls. The texts of Enoch have historically been utilized by the Beta Israel community, suggesting that this book may have been transported southward from Egypt to Cush and subsequently to the Ethiopian highlands. It is plausible that the Book of Parables was part of their collection prior to 200 BC, as their principal sacred text, the Orit, is derived from an early Greek version of the Septuagint that was in circulation around 225 to 200 BC, which contained only 8 books. Following 200 BC, additional texts were translated by the Library of Alexandria, implying that if the community left Egypt post-200 BC, they would have possessed a more extensive collection of sacred literature. The origins of the Book of Parables are a subject of considerable scholarly debate. Many scholars tend to overlook the historical context of the text within the Beta Israel community, instead positing that it is a Christian-era composition, purportedly authored between 50 and 200 AD. Several factors contribute to the assumption that it is a Christian-era text, despite its evident non-Christian character. These assumptions are often the result of interpretations imposed by translators who have approached the text through a Christian lens. A prominent example is the term "Son of Man," frequently employed throughout the Book of Parables, which is interpreted as a reference to Jesus Christ. However, a straightforward reading of the text indicates that it is not related to Jesus Christ. Rather, it could be interpreted as a prophetic work foretelling the flood of Noah, rather than the advent of the Messiah. In line with many messianic Jewish writings, the figure referred to as the Son of Man in the Book of Parables is clearly identified as Seth, the patriarch of all humans who survived the flood. The Hebrew term Ben Adam, translated as Son of Man, can also be understood as Son of Adam, a designation introduced in the opening lines of the text. Following a brief genealogical introduction in chapter 37, Enoch is presented with 3 parables. These parables differ significantly from the parables of Jesus, resembling more oracle-like discourses. Chapters 38 to 44 focus on themes of judgment. Chapters 45 to 57 address those who deny the name of the Lord, and chapters 58 to 59 explore the fate of the elect. The concluding chapters incorporate legendary elements into the narrative of Enoch. The first parable addresses the impending judgment from the vantage point of both the elect and the unrighteous. Chapter 38 opens with the anticipation of the righteous community's emergence and the subsequent judgment of sinners in this world. The righteous one is prophesied to appear before the community of the righteous to preside over this judgment. For those who have denied the name of the Lord, it is stated that it would have been preferable for them never to have been born, a sentiment echoed in Mark 14:21 regarding the one who betrays Jesus. This theme also resonates in later Ezra literature, which describes the torment faced by individuals in Hades. This judgment period is characterized by the revelation of the secrets of the righteous one, culminating in the downfall of all earthly kings. In chapter 39, Enoch receives the books of zeal and wrath, along with the books of haste and whirlwind. Verses 3 to 8 depict Enoch's ascension in a whirlwind from earth to heaven, where he beholds the abodes of the righteous among the angels. This celestial realm, situated under the wings of the Lord of Spirits, is where the righteous are destined to praise God eternally. In 39.6, Enoch perceives the elect one, characterized by righteousness and faith, presumably the same as the righteous one mentioned in 38.3, and he responds to this vision with praise. Enoch then witnesses a multitude of angels, described as countless and innumerable. In chapter 40, among these angelic beings are 4 who do not slumber. Similar to Revelation 4:5, they are positioned on the 4 sides of the Lord of Spirits, surrounded by an uncountable assembly of beings in the presence of God. These figures include Michael, the merciful and forbearing, Raphael, the overseer of disease and wounds, Gabriel, the embodiment of power and strength, and Uriel, the guardian of those whose hope is eternal life. In chapter 41, Enoch is introduced to the secrets of heaven, encompassing the dynamics of kingdoms and the weighing of human actions. He observes the cosmic repositories, including the sun and moon, which remain unimpeded by any force. Chapter 42. Enoch continues to explore the theme of mystery through a poetic personification of wisdom, which seeks her place among humanity, but ultimately returns to dwell among the angels. The subsequent chapters delve into other cosmic secrets, including phenomena such as lightning and the names of the stars in the heavens. Notably, the astronomical book, encompassing chapters 72 to 82, is a comprehensive discourse on celestial bodies aimed at calculating the length of a year. In chapter 81, Enoch is instructed to read from the celestial tablets and to convey this knowledge to his son, Methuselah. These texts appear to encompass all that will transpire for all flesh upon the earth. Although this determinism is rooted in astrological predictions, Enoch transmits this wisdom to his son. Chapter 82 presents a definitive assertion that the true astronomical year should consist of 364 days. The calculations that Enoch acquires are deemed accurate, as they were imparted to him directly by the angel Uriel. This segment of 1 Enoch is characterized by its esoteric nature and appears to be largely disconnected from New Testament studies. Scholar John Collins notes that the purpose of this section is to avert sin resulting from calendrical inaccuracies, with appropriate observance being contingent upon a proper understanding of the celestial realm. At the core of this section lies the issue of the length of the year, with all elements serving to substantiate the validity of a 364-day calendar as opposed to a 360-day calendar. While this topic may present challenges for contemporary readers, it held significant importance in the first century, as it had implications for proper worship practices. The calendar issue is therefore crucial for both New Testament scholarship and the study of the Dead Sea Scrolls, particularly with regard to the dating of Passover. The question arises, if Passover is observed according to an incorrect calendar, does it carry validity? Is it sinful to celebrate Passover on the wrong date? The Qumran community regarded the observance of an incorrect date as sinful and criticized the priestly aristocracy for adhering to a 360-day calendar, while they themselves followed a 364-day calendar. The alignment of the Book of Enoch with a 364-day calendar may explain its popularity within the Qumran community. The dream vision, or the coming of doomsday, likely represents an early endeavor to recount the history of the world from the perspective of sheep, specifically Israeli sheep contending with Egyptian wolves, Philistine dogs, Babylonian lions, and Persian eagles. The astronomical book is narrated from the viewpoint of Methuselah, the son of Enoch, and the dream vision continues this narrative thread. However, the majority of the text is believed to have been composed no earlier than the early Persian era. The initial 6 chapters of the book appear to have been appended to the astronomical book, along with the beginning of chapter 7, which features a vision of the sky collapsing and the earth being inundated. This vision of Noah's flood aligns with the depiction of the world found in the astronomical book, which describes a solid sky above the earth, with water positioned above it. The epistles of Enoch, which depict a godlike Noah, are found in the concluding chapters of 1 Enoch, presented as fragments from other documents appended to the primary text. Chapters 106 and 107 narrate the birth of Noah, likely derived from a lost composition referred to as the Noah Apocalypse. Upon his birth, Noah is described as having white skin and hair that is red like a rose, with eyes that shine like the sun. Remarkably, he speaks to the Lord immediately after his birth. Lamech, his father, is understandably troubled by the peculiar nature of his child and seeks counsel from his father, Methuselah. Methuselah subsequently directs him to Enoch, who foretells the impending flood as a divine judgment for sin and names the child Noah. Enoch also prophesied that Noah will serve as a remnant for Lamech amid forthcoming oppression. These prophecies are substantiated by their inscription on heavenly tablets. In a recent podcast session on the Joe Rogan Experience, Katie Williams expressed his frustration as a Black individual regarding the lack of representation in the Bible until he discovered the lost book. He suggested that the exclusion of the Book of Enoch was a strategic removal by early white church leaders aimed at asserting dominance over Black individuals, even within religious contexts. According to Joe Rogan's perspective, the only figures in the Bible who were not of African descent were the Romans. This contextualizes the significance of Noah being depicted as albino in the Book of Enoch, as he was surrounded by individuals of Black ancestry. Thank you for your attention. We invite you to explore another engaging video by clicking on the link appearing on your screen now. We look forward to seeing you next time.